What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Wrestlemania VII. This is the 7th installment of my 39 WrestleManias in 39 days. We are trucking right along through here. I do hope you guys are enjoying this series. This is actually the first new recording that I've done since I've started uploading. So I do hope you guys have been enjoying this series. I'm always open to hear how you guys think I could make these better. Today we are on WrestleMania 7. Stars and Stripes Forever was the theme here. Bookend, of course, by the main event being Hulk Hogan against the Sergeant Slaughter that had turned to the Iranian powers because it's 1991. So that's kind of what they did back then. But yeah, this one was March 24th, 1999. Was the date of WrestleMania 7. A couple of things that I really enjoyed about WrestleMania 7, because again, part of the joy of this has been seeing the evolution of WWE as we've gone throughout all of these different WrestleManias, and WrestleMania 7 is kind of the beginning of not a Titantron, but the next step towards it. There's an open walkway that the wrestlers come through rather than walking down the steps of a stadium or being taken by the cart. So that was really interesting how they actually have a walkway now. Again, just showing another further sign. Let me turn my light on here. Totally, I'm everywhere right now. But showing another step towards modern wrestling, right? A bit more of an evolutionary step there. This is, of course, our rating system. On the side there is Rob's notes. Again, it's a two-parter because he decided to send it to me with his keyboard on. Thanks for that, Rob, making me have to download 2 images. How dare you? As you can see, everything is rated from 10 to 0, as it always is. Rob's is in letters. That's okay. I can work with it. Again, A's are 10 and 9, B's 8, 7, C's are 6, 5, and 4, D's are 3s and 2s, and F's are 1s or 0s, and I'm kind of base it based on his notes and how I viewed the match, what he meant by it. Of course, Rob also likes to do B pluses, A pluses, D minuses, etc., which also helped me notate exactly how he felt about the match. So that is where we're going with that. And of course, we'll have a match review today, as we do every day, and I can't wait for you guys to see that one. So, of course, we're going to start off with the opening match, which is the Rockers versus Haku and the Barbarian. This is honestly one of the best opening matches that I think we've seen so far and we see for a while. I feel like this is when wrestling kind of realized that, hey, if we have a great opener that sets the tone, the crowd will be in it for the entire the entire event. They were wrong, unfortunately, but that's kind of how it is now. You want to get the crowd excited to start the show, and this one did it. I thought that it was a very interesting, typical big man versus fat athletic men, given that Haku and Barbarian, the new Heenan family is what they went by, were obviously the big powerhouses here. The Rockers being Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty were obviously the speed guys, the athletic guys that were doing a lot of the finesse moves, a lot of the selling, of course. You know, as always, the big men are going to be the ones that kind of dominate the match. Barbarian is the one that really got to excel here. I thought that he easily the best match he's had since I've seen him. Of course, he's only been in a couple of them. The Jannetty turnbuckle, so there was a part where Jannetty leaped off the turnbuckle, Barbarian caught him, power slammed him, just an absolute masterclass of chemistry and timing and selling and execution. It was, you know, again, this is back in the time where there wasn't a whole lot of these mega, like, spot moves, right? This was a spectacular one, and I feel like it kind of helped set this match apart from some of the other openers of past and some of the other matches on this card, because you actually got to see a sample of what wrestling was going to end up becoming as it progressed. Crowd loved it. It was an excellent tone setter, as I've said. I gave this match a 9 out of 10. Yes, an opening A. That's how good this match was, and as you can see, based on Rob's records over there, he agrees with me that this match was absolutely phenomenal and also gave this match an A. Where are you two at? You guys are way down there. Let me get you guys up here. So we're going to put him at a 9. Not quite a 10. However, there is a 10 on this card, and I can't wait for you guys to see what match that is. Next up, we have the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich versus Dino Bravo, with Texas Tornado winning. Kerry Von Erich, of course, many of you guys probably know the Von Erichs, the new, I believe it was a movie that just came out called Iron Claw, that it kind of tells the story of the family. This is Kerry's first and only WrestleMania, and unfortunately, I didn't really care for it very much. I thought it was a rather uninteresting match from the very beginning. I don't think Dino Bravo did him any numbers. You could tell he had a lot of it. Dino Bravo just didn't. And I haven't really liked any Dino Bravo match, matter of fact, that I've been watching so far. I don't think I've liked a single one. So, unfortunate opponent for him. And, I mean, at least it ended with a finisher, which, again, hasn't been a trend for these WrestleManias so far, so it gains a point for that, but otherwise, it's just not a good match. I gave it a D, Rob also gave it a D. I'm not going to put a Von Erich down at a 2, I will accept putting this at a 3, well, I guess I will willingly put it at a 3, just so it gets some respectability from me, because it is a Von Erich. And he looked good, but Dino Bravo is just not good at all. So, a 3 is what I'm willing to concede to it, but that is absolutely as far as Mr. Dino Bravo is going to be able to carry it. Next up, we have the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith versus the Warlord, with Bulldog winning. No one, and I do mean no one, sells a full Nelson in the 80s and 90s. It just doesn't happen. You get put in a full Nelson, you're just going to stand there for half an hour. I don't understand what it is. It's not convincing. It's boring. It's a rest hold without it being a convincing rest hold, because a full Nelson, I feel like, is supposed to be an actual move. You're supposed to actually be putting pressure. It's supposed to be a suspenseful moment, not a break. Not a move that you do when you're trying to call the next section of the match. And it looks terrible. No one can do it. It's not possible. But, I mean, outside of that, though, this match was pretty good for two typical powerhouse wrestlers. Apparently, British Bulldog slamming Warlord is apparently something that's never been done before, so it was another one of those, he slammed the big man, oh my god, moments that, you would kind of expect from a WrestleMania at this point. I don't like Warlord selling. I feel like it's a whole lot of lack thereof, to be perfectly honest with you. But Bulldog is fantastic. Bulldog is an amazing wrestler. He did excellent in this match. Warlord did okay. Not enough to ruin the match, but enough to keep up with it. Just nothing really added to it. And again, the match overall, decent outside of that full Nelson display. Really hurt that match. I honestly was going to give this match a 7 out of 10 because what we got was pretty good between these two with these power moves and the back and forth display, Bulldog selling, but that full Nelson spot was rough and it really kind of just took me out of the match. I stopped caring for it for a while until they forced me to get back into it. So I'm going to give this a 6, which is a high C. Rob gave it a normal C, which will be, I'd say, a 5. Because he typically is pretty generous with C- and C+. So if it's just a C, I'm going to assume he meant to give that a 5. I gave it a 6. It's going to average out to a 5.5, which is going to be a 6. So that is where we will put it. Next up, we have the Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs and Jerry Sags versus the Hart Foundation in a tag team title match with the Nasty Boys winning. Now, I did not realize this until I did a little bit more research, but this is actually the last match of the Hart Foundation. Bret Hart ends up going on his solo run. Neidhart ends up kind of joining with Owen Hart instead. But yeah, this is a huge impactful match. Takes the titles off of the Harts, which allows Bret to go on that solo run. And the match itself was pretty damn good. Nasty Boys, clearly the inferior team here, but they played the heel role excellently. The Harts were the faces. Everyone was cheering for them at this point. But the Nasty Boys used their cheating and the sneak attacks and the low blows and the heel antics to the perfection to overcome the faces here. I thought it was a pretty typical heel versus face matchup in terms of that, with the heel winning via, dirty methods, if you will. I love the fact that it was extremely fast-paced. I thought the match was kind of middling for most of it, but the ending was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, outside of that, like I said, first half was a bit of a chore, good and fun ending. I gave it a 7, which is a low B. Again, huge fan of the Hart Foundations, even though I do obviously think Bret Hart is definitely the superior person in this entire matchup. But I thought the Nasty Boys did enough to keep up and add something to the match, which is something Barbarian didn't do in the previous match, which is why I gave that a 6, and I'm giving this a 7. Rob clearly agrees with me, which has been a very odd occurrence here, us agreeing on everything so far. He also gave this a B, which I'm going to assume is a 7 because he gave something a B plus later. So I am going to set this match. Where are you at? There you are. At a 7. Again, fantastic job. I really enjoyed that match, and it was an incredible back and forth. I highly actually recommend that match just for the moment of seeing the last Hart Foundation match, if that is your fancy. Next up, we have Jake Roberts versus Rick Martel in a gimmick match that is a blindfold match. Now, while neither me nor Rob, although Rob did kind of give this a higher rating than I did, necessarily gave this match glowing reviews, I would actually like to discuss this with him. This is a very unique match, given that it's a blindfold match, and I would like to hear Rob's opinion on this and other gimmick matches of the sort. So, let's go talk to him. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the match review here for WrestleMania 7. I almost thought you put the 6. I didn't see your thumb at first, but you decided to do the Rock's L. Thank you. I got that. But we are here with Jake Roberts and Rick Martel. A bit of a different match review. We tend to do sort of like the big matches, but I felt like I really wanted to kind of talk about sort of the gimmick match here for this one, because it was definitely interesting. I don't see blindfolded match like this too often. Is this the only one they've done, or have they done other ones like this?
Up to this point, I think it's just here.
Okay, so they've done other ones since then. I will say this, there's one part of this match that I thought was really interesting. Rick Martel, he goes to scratch his eye, and you can literally see the eye part of the bag so that they can technically see. It's like a mesh that's there. I thought that was, like, camera, you could have not.
There's another angle where one of them is, like, in the corner where the ref is over there, and the way the camera like panned over, you could see it was like, I see you. Like, it was so bad.
But yeah, so obviously when it comes to gimmick matches, we'll start there before we kind of break down this match too far. What is your opinion on these gimmick matches? Do you find them entertaining? Do you find them as a waste of time?
Oh, hell yeah, dude. This match was a lot of fun. I thought it did go on a little too long.
Way too long. That's part of my I actually put that in my review, that it went on about 3 minutes too long.
But getting the crowd involved, making the ref just kind of go like, what's going on? Like putting the pieces of the puzzle together. It was very smart. It was, it was fresh, new to the time, I guess. Mm-hmm. I don't really have anything bad to say about it, really, aside from just the time.
Yeah, I feel like it repeated it too long. Again, the crowd was really into it. I feel like if you had chopped this match by about 3 or 4 minutes, I feel like this would have been a much better match. He's constantly pointing to the around the audience, telling him when he's pointing towards him, and that's when he goes after him. And then, of course, they had a couple moves and they split. They did that one too many times, I think. It was realistic to a degree, but I still feel like it went on too long to where it was, for me anyway, which is why I gave this match a 5 out of 10. To me, it made it so the match was starting to pass its expiration date, if that makes any sense, and it spoiled for me. Obviously, was still good enough for you, but
I gave it a B, but it wasn't a high B. It wasn't a high B. It wasn't a low B. It was like
well, there's only 2 Bs, so.
Okay, look, there's B like 87 to 89.
Well, you have 8 and 7, so. I'm pretty sure I told you.
This is like a 7.5.
I'm pretty sure I told you that. I'm pretty sure I put this as a 7 for you.
That's
but
fair, I guess.
When it comes to gimmick matches in general, because obviously there isn't a ton to discuss with this match. So for gimmick matches in general, what is your overall review of them? And what would you say is your favorite gimmick match that you can think of?
Of all time or just what I've seen?
Of all time. Let's go all time. What's your favorite gimmick match? And I'm not talking like ladders, TLC, because those are normal matches, but like this. You don't see them very often. They pop up randomly. What are your favorites?
Okay, so going back to a previous WrestleMania, there was I almost said Authors of Pain. It's Authors of Doom, I think, versus the Legions of Doom.
It was Demolition.
Demolition, yeah.
It was Authors of Destruction or something like that.
Yeah, like that was a good match, I feel, and it was like roughly the same gimmick, and it was like which gimmick was better is how I took that match.
Well, they're both basically the exact same characters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
I wouldn't quite call that a gimmick match, though. When I say gimmick match, I'm talking like this, where it's a stipulation, like Inferno matches, bull strap matches, buried alive matches, casket matches, those type of things. So when it comes to those, that's what I mean when I say, not like gimmick versus gimmick, but like a gimmick match like this, a blindfolded match. What would you say is your favorite one?
Probably the buried alive, like Kane versus Undertaker.
Okay. I think because gimmick matches are mostly about the spectacle of it all. I love the Inferno matches. Are they ever good? No, they're never good matches. But I think they've been like 2 or 3 of them. They've almost always involved Kane. And they've always been at least fun to look at, right? They're never good matches because you don't want to get actually burned, but they've been fun to watch.
I'm going to do a honorable mention. Actually, I don't know how to word this, but like if it's a mask versus hair, or like hair versus hair kind of mask, I would put those over the
blindfold match.
No,
the buried alive.
Yeah,
okay, gotcha. I understand that because there's usually like a sense of like there's a meaning behind it.
Right.
I truly believe that's Rey Mysterio's retirement match. I think that's why. I think that's why Dom is growing his hair out. I think it's going to be a hair versus mask match between the two of them. And that's how Rey Mysterio is going to retire. That's my theory. I think it's to be a WrestleMania 41 match.
Shout out to Dom. Dom has fucking killed it, dude.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. I can't wait to discuss him a little bit later on. We will obviously talk about him at WrestleMania 39.
Talk to him?
I would love to talk to him. Let me reach out to him.
You can talk to mommy.
Yeah, basically. But anyway, as far as this match goes, I would have enjoyed it if it was a little bit shorter. I thought both wrestlers really used the gimmick to their advantage. Again, I love Jake Roberts using the crowd like he did. So, yeah, I feel like... I don't know if this would go over with the modern crowd. Do you think this match would go over with the modern crowd?
I think this might go over more than, like, the bull strap match. Because there was...
Depends on who does this match. 2 main eventers, not going to work. If you put R-Truth versus Miz in a match like this would be fucking amazing.
Oh yeah.
But I think it would depend on the people you have with it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, like I said, not a ton to talk about with this match. I just wanted to talk about gimmick matches with you, and obviously discuss the ratings here. So you gave it a 7 out of 10 based on just sort of like the crowd engagement. I gave it a 5 out of 10 because I felt like it went on for too long. And I think both of our ratings make a lot of sense on this one. No true disagreement here, just different levels of interest. So I think that sounds about fair. Well, we won't keep you here for too long on this one, Rob. So thank you guys so much for watching. Back to me. Welcome back from that match review, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed me and Rob's discussions on that. Yeah, listen. as I said there, crowd seemed to love it. I gave it a 5 out of 10, which is a straight up C. I felt like, as I said, I felt like it went on a little bit too long. Rob gave it a B, so that is going to be a 7. I gave it a 5, which means this match is going to average up to a 6. Next up we have Undertaker versus Jimmy Snuka. Taker's first WrestleMania match, and the rumors are true, his early Mania matches were not very good. This is obviously, of course, the start of the streak, so if you're currently going through an Undertaker phase and want to watch all his WrestleMania matches, of course, this is going to be the first one you're going to go to. Listen, it pretty much was a bona fide squash match. I mean, Jimmy Snuka is a very large man, so having the Undertaker kind of beat him around and beat him pretty quickly, it definitely does set Taker up to be a very foreboding character, which was the entire point of the match. But you guys know how I feel about squash matches. I'm not a fan of them unless they have a certain purpose. This one did have a purpose, so I'm not going to give it an F like I normally give squash matches, because The Undertaker needed this match on this scale at this event to showcase basically what we were going to see for the next 30 years in terms of him being a very foreboding and evil presence on the locker room. Of course, I still gave it a D. Rob, of course, also gave it a D. So, again, very appropriate. I thought it was about on the same scale as the Dino. Actually, I think it was a little bit worse than the Dino Bravo Kerry Von Erich match. So I believe we're going to stick this at a 2. Feel bad for putting Taker down that low, but I also feel like I can't really necessarily give it that. Me and Rob didn't really do any D- or here or anything like that. And I actually just put this as a D. I didn't put a number on it like I normally do. So I think a 2 is appropriate for this match based on what it was. Again, it's a squash match, so normally it would be an F. I'll bump it up to a 2 because of the importance of it, and I think that kind of fits kind of what me and Rob are both kind of looking at when thinking about this match. Next up, we have, in my opinion, what should have been the main event. And I understand the importance of the Hulk Hogan, Sergeant Slaughter, back at, that whole match and what it meant. I understand that. And I believe this was billed as a double main event. I can't remember. But this should have been the main event. Macho Man Randy Savage versus the Ultimate Warrior in a retirement match. The Warrior won, basically giving Macho Man about a year or so to recover from his back injuries and get surgery on his back. His injuries was just stacking up too much to the point where he needed time off. So this was a way for him to do so and also give him a window to come back. What this had just blows my mind. As you guys know, I don't like the Ultimate Warrior. I've been very vocal about my distaste of the Ultimate Warrior. And even though I gave him a good review on the last one because of the importance of Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan, this was the best Ultimate Warrior match of all time. Last match was important because of the story elements and the crowd factor and these two mega personalities colliding. This was an actual legitimate good Ultimate Warrior match. He actually did moves. He actually sold. He actually was beat down after doing his Hulk up, which had never been done before. The desperation on both of these men's actions was so telling. Again, Queen Sherry did her thing. Ultimate Warrior was going after Queen Sherry during it. Just the storytelling, the action, the selling, the back and forth. At no point I could tell who was going to win this match. I really enjoyed the fact that this match had something you don't usually see very often, which is the kicking out of finishers. Kicking out of finishers was basically unheard of in this era. And you could really tell the desperation that both men had in doing so. I do think the Ultimate Warrior kicking out of 5 elbows, a bit insane. And I'm also not crazy that a shoulder tackle is what won the match, but I can't argue about this match's importance, this match's classical nature. I can't argue about what this match meant to both people. Again, it's the Ultimate Warrior's best match ever. This match is a 10 out of 10. Rob gave this match a B+. I don't agree with that low of a rating, which is unfortunate because he did that. It is going to knock it down to a 9. I gave this match a 10 out of 10. Rob gave it an 8, so it is going to get set down to a 9. I'm going to fight him for this, but I'm really mad that he did that. I wish he could just give it an A-, but it's whatever. He wasn't as impressed by this match as I was, but I will settle for a 9. This is settling. This one is me settling, all right? Because this match was just too good to be a 9, but whatever. I'm not going to argue with it. It's what he gave it. It's what he gave it. We'll play by the rules here. I'm not going to override the establishment that I've set up here just because I strongly disagree with his take on this match. But then again, I gave a match last time a D. He gave it an A. So I guess we're even there. But yeah, absolutely phenomenal match. And Jesus, the image of Macho Man Randy Savage and Queen Elizabeth at the end, just perfection. That scene alone is all I needed, to be perfectly honest with you. That scene alone was just icing on the cake. Exactly what needed to happen in this Mania. Next up we have Katao and Tenryu versus Demolition, Crush and Smash, with Katao and Tenryu winning. I just really feel bad for this match because it had to follow the all-time classic that came before it. It was honestly a mediocre match to begin with, but following that absolute classic, the crowd was not feeling this match at all. I think the crowd was worn out. The match wasn't good enough to get them back in it. I had trouble keeping up with this match because I was still elated over the fact that Elizabeth and Macho Man rematched up at the end of that last match. But, to a degree, I wanted to give this match a C. Because it wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible. But I gave this match a D. And I gave this match a D because I quite frankly don't remember anything that happens in it. I was still... Because I take notes while I'm watching, so it's fresh. And I don't even have that many notes on this one, which I think happens again later on. I don't really have any notes on this match. It wasn't anything spectacular. Nothing really happened. Demolition is clearly past its prime, in my opinion. And this match followed a classic, so I wasn't excited about it. Nothing caught me. Nothing made me elated for this. Gave it a D. Looks like... Actually, I need to update Rob's ratings here. There we go. Looks like Rob actually agreed with me here. Rob agreed. Gave us a D+. So maybe it wasn't just me feeling let down. I'm fine with giving this match a 3. I'm fine with that 100%. Clearly, it wasn't just me. That's good to see. But we'll move on, because there really isn't much to talk about with that match. The next one we have Boss Man versus Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect being joined by Bobby Heenan and Mr. Perfect's Villainera. Honestly, pretty damn good match for about 80% of it. I did think it was kind of odd that they let Boss Man take out a leather belt and just beat the shit out of Mr. Perfect with it for half the match without getting a disqualification. But I guess then again, it was kind of his gimmick, so maybe they gave an exception for that. Andre the Giant coming out here in what would end up being his final WrestleMania appearance before passing away 2 years later was also really iconic, given that, he had just separated from the Bobby Heenan family. This was him kind of getting back at Bobby Heenan, costing his new guy, Mr. Perfect, allowing Big Boss Man to win. The only issue is, I didn't really care much for the disqualification finish. You had a great match going here. If you weren't going to call him DQ for the belt, I don't know. It was really disappointed that it had a DQ finish on a card that had some pretty damn good finishes. I think most matches here had a true finish to them. And, I guess you were due for one, right? I guess you were due for one. It's unfortunate it came during this one. I would have given this match a 7 out of 10 had it not been that poor ending. That poor ending is going to knock it down to a C for me. Looks like Rob actually agreed. I gave it a 6. I gave it a C+. Rob gave it a C, which is going to be a 5. It is going to average out to an 11. 5.5, which is going to end up getting bumped up to a 6. So that's where it's going to end up going. I think we can both agree that it belongs there, and I think both me and Rob are kind of on the same page, whereas if it didn't have that DQ finish, probably would be a higher grade than it. Next up, we have Earthquake versus Greg Valentine. Another okay match. Another squash match. This was Earthquake's, I believe it was Earthquake's introduction, but it was a squash match. You know, a squash match of Greg Valentine, which I'm never going to complain about because Greg Valentine isn't that great, but I mean, this is WrestleMania, right? And I understand the importance back then of creating monster talent in terms of Undertaker and Earthquake and these big, strong men that were supposed to be menacing on the card. It's important to do so, but I'm used to Mania being important matches. This didn't feel important. And so, again, maybe at the time, this was different. And Earthquake needed this. I didn't. And so I gave this match a D. Rob gave this match a D. He was clearly along the same mindset that I am. We're going to put this match at the 2 category because it's a squash match. Again, both of the squash matches here, both had meaning, both a 2 for me and Rob. Next up, we have Legion of Doom, Animal and Hawk versus Powered in Glory, Hercules and Paul Roma. Now, my father has been very vocal about how the Legion of Doom was his favorite tag team of all time because they came in, they looked fucking cool, they came in, they jumped in the ring, they beat the shit out of someone, they pinned him, and they left. They were huge in WCW, which is what my dad also watched. My dad watched both WCW and WWE when he was growing up. They were also big, I believe, in TNA. I can't remember if they were there or not, but I know they were in WCW. I know they were big in Japan. They finally come to the WWE, and they squash their opponent in like fucking 59 seconds. Not even a minute. So Dad was right. They came in, they beat ass, they pinned and left. Unfortunately, I'm not a fan of squash matches, and I'm reviewing these based on my enjoyment of the match. And Legion of Doom didn't move anything for me, and mostly because they're not my era. So my dad's probably going to get very mad when he sees this, but I gave this match a 1. And it looks like, based on this, Rob agrees that this match is an F. So we're going to give this match a 1. Dad, if you're going to miss one, this would be a great WrestleMania review to miss, because I don't want to deal with that phone call when you realize I just gave your favorite tag team a 1. But hey, what it is. Next up, we have Virgil, rest in peace, versus Ted DiBiase in a match that had a lot going into it. It was a very hot feud. People were really excited about this match. So much heat coming in. Years in the making. And it delivered meh, unfortunately. I felt like this was a middling match. I felt like Roddy Piper didn't need to get involved, but I also understand that Virgil wasn't the best wrestler at the time, so I can understand the need for Roddy Piper to get involved. I also did some research when I was looking at, fan reactions to a lot of these matches. Their SummerSlam match was apparently a lot better, which is unfortunate that we got the lesser of the 2 matches. But this match left a lot on the table to be desired. I guess that's why they had that SummerSlam follow-up. But unfortunately, I gave this match a 4 out of 10, a low C. Rob gave it exactly the same. He actually said it was Roddy Piper versus Ted DiBiase. It was not Roddy Piper versus Ted DiBiase. It was Virgil versus Ted DiBiase. But I can also understand why Rob would have thought it was Roddy Piper, because that's basically who did a lot of the match. So, again, we're both in agreement. A 4C is where we're going to put this. And maybe I'll look up their SummerSlam match in honor of Virgil. Again, rest in peace. Next up, we have the Mountie versus Tito Santana. A filler match. Did absolutely fucking nothing. Horrible ending, horrible middle, horrible beginning. That's my entire note. 1 F. Rob agrees. Gave this match an F as well. I'm pretty sure this match was like 2.5 minutes. I don't even know who the Mountie is. I know that's not his main gimmick. My dog is angry at a vacuum cleaner I hear in the background there. But yeah, this match was just meh. Horrible, just waste of time. Just give me... This would have been better, just give me the main event. Give the main event these 3 minutes that you just took. Actually, then again, given what the main event is, I'm glad you didn't. Thank you. You spared us. Because next up is the main event, which is Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter. My first note on this match is straight up, this match is a fucking mess. That's my first note. End quote. This match is a fucking mess. Honestly, pretty typical Hogan and typical Slaughter for the most part. Slaughter hit him with a chair multiple times. Nothing. Selling was horrible. Hulk Hogan doesn't sell. We know this. General Adon was out there with Sergeant Slaughter. Out of place for half the match. He was getting in the way. He was causing issues. Hogan was having to wait for him to grab him. He wasn't on cue. Hogan was supposed to jump off the top rope and Adon was supposed to push him. Adon was late getting there, so Hogan just kind of paused up there. Made it look really fucking awkward the entire time. Crowd was into it, of course, because it's Hulk Hogan at the time, and it's a Hulkamaniacs are going crazy at this time period. Also, Sergeant Slaughter being with Iran when he was supposed to be an American war hero was a huge hit for a lot of people. In the opposite way, it was a very big heel moment. What I can't get out of, Adon ends up distracting the referee while Sergeant Slaughter was trying to win. And I don't know if that was intentional or not. I don't know who fucked up the cue. Because they left friends. They left friends to my knowledge. So they didn't turn on each other during the match. So I legit have no idea why General Adon distracted the referee while Sergeant Slaughter was trying to win the match. I don't know if... Again, I can only assume there was a cue missed. Oh, by the way, this was not a no disqualification match. So a third chair shot occurred after all this. No DQ. And I don't understand this. Why not just make these matches no DQ? You have... The ref sees it. I understand rules must have changed at some point in time because we still have the submission tap out rule. But regardless, typical Hogan finish. Bad match overall. I gave this match a 3 out of 10. Rob apparently strongly disagreed and gave this match a B. So... It's going to average out to a 10. He gave it a B, so it'll be a 7. I gave it a 3, so it'll average out to a 10. Divided by 2, it's a 5. So we're going to basically touch just about every number on the card here. I guess let's go ahead and average this up. This will probably be a decent average because we don't have a lot of matches staggering this card. Wow. Yeah, unfortunately, the bad really cost this WrestleMania. I thought when I was watching this WrestleMania was one of the better ones, but based on our averages here, it's an average of a 5.57. I'm sorry, 4.57. It's an average of a 4.57. Which really isn't that much better than 6, which is unfortunate. A WrestleMania with 2 arguably all-time classics, although I know most people don't consider the Rockers versus Haku and Barbarian as a all-time classic, but it was still a very highly rated match for both me and Rob. But you had an all-time classic on here, and it's dogged down by 2 1s and 2 2s, and 2 3s aren't doing them much favors either. The rest of the WrestleMania card was pretty average to above average matches, which isn't bad. You expect some average matches on a card, but yeah, I thought this WrestleMania was going to be much more highly rated than it was, but unfortunately the bad outweighed the good and we got a rather below average WrestleMania out of it. So there you go, WrestleMania 7 not redeemed, unfortunately. But that is the end of my WrestleMania 7 review. I hope you guys have a fantastic day and I will see you tomorrow with WrestleMania 8. Good night, guys.